Hello everyone, it's Laffy Traffy. Chapter 1014 of One Piece is officially out, and it is titled The Ham. If you haven't yet and you're interested, feel free to go check out my reaction. It was an emotional roller coaster of a chapter, and the more I read it, the deeper it gets. So much has happened, so I feel like this is going to be a longer than usual chapter review, but I'll try to keep it succinct. I won't. But you know, when a One Piece chapter hits you like this, what can you expect, really? Not to mention lore. Kaido mentioning Joy Boy, Momo hearing someone in his head, and also Momo reading Oden's journal and finding out that his life does have a particular place in the future of Wano, if not the world. My god, there's so much to go on. Before we start, go ahead and follow me on Twitter and Twitch if you're interested in more One Piece gaming and anime content. I think I'm going to do a live reading of the next One Piece chapter this Friday on Twitch. I was thinking about doing it on YouTube, but quite frankly, YouTube Live scares me, and I'm more comfortable on Twitch anyway because I stream games over there, so go follow me over there if you want to catch my live reaction. If everything goes smoothly, then I will still upload my normal reaction to YouTube, so you don't have to go over there and be worried if you miss it. But I'll keep you all updated this coming week, so more info on that to come. But with that all out of the way, let's dive into chapter 1014 of One Piece, The Ham. Stupid Kanjuro. The chapter picks up right where the last one left off, with Luffy plummeting into the sea. We see him straight up fall into the water, no one is seemingly around, and Kaido is up there mocking him, of all things. He's like, I mean, yeah, you know how to do the Conquerors thing now, but I mean, you're just not that great at it, to be frank. What was your technique? Gum something? Ha! Whoa, no. But more importantly, Kaido drops an interesting line here. As Luffy falls into the water, seemingly dead and defeated, Kaido mentions that he couldn't be Joy Boy either, it seems. Let's unpack that. First off, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the only reason that Kaido says Luffy couldn't be Joy Boy is because in Kaido's eyes, Luffy's dead. And probably not coming back. So in Kaido's mind, he couldn't be Joy Boy because Joy Boy has to be alive to bring in the new dawn, as much as whatever Kaido knows about that particular topic. But from Kaido's perspective, Luffy showed a lot of spunk and perseverance, and probably checked off a lot of boxes to be titled Joy Boy, but he was defeated, so I guess he couldn't be Joy Boy. But we know that Luffy's not dead, so easy to then cross the bridge of Luffy is Joy Boy? It's an easy conclusion, really. I have to assume that there is a very valid reason that Kaido even considered Luffy to be Joy Boy. Now, we don't know what that is, and we're gonna assume that he hasn't read Oden's journal. I'm going to assume that his information comes from the Rocks Pirates, because Yamato had Oden's journal, and I'm going to assume that he didn't let Kaido read it, because, you know, they kind of differed on opinions of Oden, and Kaido might just destroy it. So what does Kaido know? What does Kaido know about Joy Boy and the Void Century and the Poneglyphs? Was someone on the Rocks crew reading Poneglyphs? They had to have, because that's where the history is about Joy Boy. Did they use someone from Ohara? The timelines match up because Rocks was defeated almost 40 years ago, and Ohara was only destroyed 20-something years ago. So they could have been using someone from there to read the Poneglyphs, or they could have even been using someone in the Kozuki clan. We don't know. But whoever that is probably dead now, or at least hiding away and not accessible, because Kaido and Big Mom were banking on capturing Robin and or using Pudding to read the Poneglyphs, so they don't have that person anymore, clearly. We can assume that is how they got this information, because if it wasn't in Oden's journal, then Kaido knows stuff from the Rocks Pirates. And it really fills out his character too, because it's good to see that Kaido hasn't just been sitting around, because we kind of get that vibe that the Yonko are just kind of getting comfortable where they are. But that's not the case. They've actually put some work in, because Kaido, being who he is, he might have not had to have even learned that information on the Rock's crew. He might have just used it from his giant network of information with Doflamingo and everything, and just, rumors passed down, written down. I'm sure Robin isn't the first one to read the poneglyphs in recent times. Regardless, Kaido knows something that we don't. And I want to know what that is, because that led him to thinking that Luffy is Joy Boy, and what reason was that? There's no reason, so he did think that he was Joy Boy, but he doesn't think he's Joy Boy because he was dead, but we know that Luffy's not dead, so that means Luffy's Joy Boy. Did you catch all that? And he specifically says you couldn't be Joy Boy either, indicating that there was someone else that Kaido thought could be Joy Boy and wasn't. I think that definitely points to, if not Roger, Odin, because Luffy and Odin have been compared to in Kaido's eyes, from the fact that that was the last time that Kaido has fought so hard, and he was getting all worked up, and he's like, man, I haven't tried this hard since Odin, and he constantly makes the comparison of Luffy's fighting spirit with Odin, so it's safe to say that Kaido might have thought Odin was Joy Boy, because he just exuded that type of personality, whatever that is. Leadership and freedom, all those words culminate into the title of Joy Boy. But Joy Boy has to live. Odin did not. So Kaido probably thought that maybe this Odin person, maybe he is Joy Boy. Wano's borders had to be open for the prophecy that Joy Boy will be coming again to bring in the new dawn. Maybe that connection runs deeper than we think, and maybe it was Odin himself trying to open Wano's borders for himself and making his country accessible to the rest of the world for when the time comes, but he did not succeed in that, so now it's Luffy's turn, and now Kaido's seeing all this happening again. He's like, wait, so are you Joy Boy? It is very interesting, because there's definitely the theories that Luffy could be Joy Boy, and there's a lot of theories that he's not. Maybe you can take Kaido at face value and say, well, he's not Joy Boy. Kaido said so. But again, I think the only reason that Kaido said that he's not is because Luffy, in his eyes, is dead. But we know he's not dead. So there's still a chance. Anyway, Luffy is dropped into the water, and Kaido is disappointed, but then he gets a call. He gets a call from Bao Wang telling him that they located Momo, and Kaido goes on his way before commanding that the outcome of his battle be broadcast across Onigashima. So the Marys line up and do just that. Kaido mentioned that he feels like he failed because he got so caught up in fighting that he just knocked Luffy off the island and didn't take any proof of his victory, so I guess this is the next best thing for Kaido to just announce to everyone that Luffy's defeated. I'm sure he knows that it won't be enough, and as we see later, it's not, because the Straw Hats are not giving up faith. We see Yamato is running and carrying the little pretend doll of Momo, and everyone's falling for it because they're like, oh my god, he's carrying Momo! Wait, also, where are his shackles? And we just see Yamato smashing through the Beast Pirates ranks and trying to get to the rooftop. Unfortunately for him, Kaido has now turned into a dragon and is coming all the way back to where Yamato just was. And I feel bad because I really want Yamato and Kaido to have their confrontation, even if it's just verbal, even if it's just in dialogue. I want to know what is said between them, because they haven't had any interactions, and it's a very interesting relationship that they have, especially with Yamato claiming to be Odin. And now that everything is kind of coming to fruition, now that Momo's here and in danger, and people are attacking in the name of Odin, I would be very interested to see how Yamato reacts to his dad. And if there's a fight too, then I'm not going to complain. Speaking of Momo, we see that he is currently reading Odin's journal, and he says that it seems that he cannot afford to die. And Shinobu's like, yeah, what have you been thinking up until now? I could have told you that. But no, it's something important, and seems that Momo has read his importance in the future of Wano and the world at large, whether that be maybe Joy Boy's role, maybe it's because he has the voice of all things, maybe he's an ancient weapon commanding Zunisha, maybe it's just his relationship with Zunisha and the Kozuki clan, or maybe it's just that Wano needs a leader to make sure that their country aids whoever brings in the dawn, and Momo's like, oh wow, yeah, they really need a shogun right now. I really do need to do this. And it's good to see Momo having a little bit more confidence, like, oh shit, it's bigger than just me, but I'm important in it. And Momo's just gone through so much shit, and a lot more shit later in this chapter, that it's good to see that he's found a place, whatever that is. I want to know. But then he gets interrupted as a voice starts talking to him in his mind. A presence appears, and this raises so many questions that is just going to be game-changing later on in the arc, or in the next chapter. Who knows? It's funny that the two biggest scenes in this chapter, one with Kaido and one with Momo, are both only 1 or 2 panels long too. So, interesting. It's the dialogue that matters. So we're gonna take a few minutes here and discuss some possibilities of who's in Momo's head. First of all, it's Zunisha. Now, I don't necessarily subscribe to that idea. It was just something I came up with because the only other time that he reacted this way was talking to Zunisha, so I was like, well, it's Zunisha. I mean, Zunisha's height works out. She can, put her trunk up, catch Onigashima, maybe she can even get onto Wano. I mean, the geography, it's everything but confusing. Like, how big is Wano? I think it's smaller than Zunisha, because Zunisha's enormous. But regardless, even though there was enough time for Zunisha to make it to Wano, she wouldn't have a reason to. The only reason that she might have is that Momo was in danger, and Momo was only in danger a few hours ago. So unless Zunisha's nearby, because everyone traveled to Wano from Zunisha, so maybe she's nearby, but it doesn't really matter. She has her, her trek that she takes, and, she doesn't really waver for that because she's sentenced to punishment for all of eternity. But like I said before, I don't really subscribe to this idea. It would just be cool. I mean, it is One Piece after all, and One Piece would be nothing if not filled with crazy fan theories trying to predict what's gonna happen. Some other more tame theories is that maybe Momo is listening to Sea Kings or something. Maybe the Sea Kings are calling out to Momo for Luffy, but the Sea Kings could save Luffy, so I don't see any reason why they would be calling out to Momo. And that's the thing, it's not that Momo is crying out for help, it's that someone is talking to Momo seemingly out of nowhere. That's why I don't think it's Sea Kings or something else, because they specifically are reaching out to someone with the voice of all things. Whether it was directly Momo or just shouting that presence and only Momo who is around, because the only other person is Luffy, can hear it. We see Momo hear it, but we don't know. But I have one crackpot theory of who the voice could possibly be, and it's Luffy. Now hear me out. Stupid, maybe. Probably not Luffy, but if it was, that'd be pretty cool, because now he's underwater, drowning, and in a very life-threatening and desperate situation, and so maybe he's subconsciously calling for help. I can't think of a situation where he's been in this bad of shape with Momo around. Now the key here is the voice of all things versus observation haki. I can see that Momo also has observation haki in the way that Kobe does, whereas Sanji and Katakuri have future sight and, they can just predict enemies' moves, or Usopp has an extreme awareness of his surroundings for sniping and stuff. A third version of observation haki that we've seen is that you can just sense the feelings and the voices within people as traumatic things are going on, or just in general, which is how Momo was able to hear with his observation haki, not voice of all things, with his observation haki that Luffy and Kaido were the last ones on the roof right before Yamato left. That's what he said. So Momo does have observation haki, but he also has something else. He has the voice of all things like Luffy does. It's different. A different wavelength, let's say. Perhaps people with the voice of all things can tap into that wavelength and hear the presence and voice of other things. And maybe depending on how powerful those things are, the more, their voice can be heard. Like the Sea Kings were heard by Luffy in Fishman Island. Zunisha was heard by Luffy and Momo. And now Luffy. Are you still with me? Probably not, but I'm gonna finish anyway. Because given all of that explanation and information, I think that Luffy might be subconsciously projecting his voice into the abyss. Not necessarily at Momo, but just, it's just crying out for help. And anyone with the power to tap into that wavelength, with the voice of all things, can hear it, i.e. Momo. And you might immediately counter with the fact that Momo seemingly doesn't recognize the voice. But I would counter back with that is probably first just a method of suspense in writing, just saying like, who is it, rather than just straight up saying like, oh, Zunisha, how are you? Or Luffy, or Sea Kings. It's a way to get us more suspenseful, like, oh, what's gonna happen? And even in a non-metagaming way, Momo might have just been shocked by the sudden presence of something in his mind. When you're caught off guard like that, you're not, thinking clearly, so maybe he's just like, what? Who are you? What? Oh, Luffy. But we didn't get that oh Luffy part, or oh Zunisha, or oh Sea Kings, or whatever the hell is talking to him. So I don't put much stock in Momo saying, who is it? At the end of the day, we don't get any real hints to who it could be or what it could be because Momo is cut off and he's freaking out, and then we see him later and he's telling Kinemon that he must tell everyone. It's so important, what's happening? And my theory with it being Luffy, it could be that Luffy was crying out for help and he's drowning and dying. And Momo was like, holy shit, Kinemon, tell everyone, go save Luffy, Because Momo didn't hear the broadcast. Although the Frog Mary was in there, Momo was so caught up in his own head, he was freaking out so much that the broadcast kind of got washed away with the more immediate presence of something in his mind, so he might have not heard that everyone already knows that Luffy's in danger, so he was like, oh Kinemon, Luffy's in danger, go help him. I don't know. Just another crazy theory that I thought of that would be pretty cool if Luffy could have that ability to, the more powerful you are, the more presence you have, and Conqueror's spirit maybe has to do with that. He's just emitting this presence, help or something, I don't know. At the end of the day, if it's not Zunisha, and if it's not Luffy, and it's not a Sea King, I'm very interested to see who it is, because that means it's someone that we might have not met yet. Something big, right? Because the Sea Kings and Zunisha are the only ones confirmed to be able to be heard with the voice of all things, so something game-changing is going on, regardless of if it's Luffy or Zunisha or the Sea Kings. A lot is happening, and it's happening to Momo. That was a long tangent of a theory that probably is going to be erased completely in the next chapter, but again, what's One Piece if not making up a bunch of theories? That's the fun of it, so don't take it too seriously. It's probably not gonna happen. But if it does, then I win. It's a win-win, really. Coming back out of the Momo scene, we see that Chopper is fighting Queen and Perospero in Monster Point. That's impressive. Damn. Unfortunately though, although he's flinging Queen around and everything, Chopper isn't really doing much damage to Queen. And Perospero's just kind of hanging out on the sidelines like he does, and does nothing but torment people. So Chopper's not looking too good right now, but we do get a nice flashback. And it's very interesting that Caesar was helping Chopper with his rumble balls. And he was being really all high and mighty, rumble balls, please, that's sloppy work. Here, do this, and I'll get you results. If anyone knows anything about gigantification, it's me. Remember when I experimented with children? Chopper is pretty young. Well, he was 15, so I guess he's 17 now, but still, Caesar's track record with experimenting on children for gigantification is still going strong. I wonder where he is right now. I wonder if he'll ever reunite with Gangster Gastino. I feel like those two could be friends. But I'm always happy to see flashbacks about the things that happen on the Thousand Sunny and what the Straw Hats are up to and Caesar, so it was cool. And it makes sense that Caesar and Chopper, although, you know, they may have gotten off on the wrong foot, they might compare notes. And it benefited him because now he can make his gigantification, or monster point, a whole 30 minutes now compared to the only 3 minutes it was. That's a long time. And he says that he's only got 10 minutes left, so that means he's been fighting for 20 minutes against Queen. That's a long time. And he's still hanging in there, although he's looking like a hedgehog with all the Sparrow stupid candies that he's got, but luckily that all gets put to a halt as Bao Wang summons all the Marys to diffusion mode to, you know, spread out through the castle to get the message across as efficiently as possible that Luffy is defeated. It is announced that Luffy was defeated by Kaido and is currently falling into the sea. And we see a little panel there that Luffy is certainly gargling up some seawater down there. He is not looking too good. But don't worry, because Kaido's understanding, you know, you guys lost, okay, now accept it, surrender, and you can be part of the Beast Pirates, you know, no problem. Because Kaido's coming down to do cleanup work, so you better make your choice fast. That must be terrifying to hear as someone fighting down below, like, oh god, wait, Luffy lost? Wait, what? And we see a bunch of Straw Hats and allies, and this spread right here is my favorite part of the chapter, because we get to see little bits of everyone and what they're doing, the confidence that they're still alive and well enough to keep fighting and are still fighting, and doing great. I wish we could see more of these fights. Maybe they'll be more expanded upon later, but it's good to see little bits there. We see Frankie and Jinbei and Robin and Brook and Chopper all fighting hard. Marco is there, looking alive and well. That's good, because I was worried about him, but it seems Sparrow got another target before he was able to target Marco. But it seems like Marco is probably not too far away. We just haven't seen Marco and Chopper in the same area, on the same panel, but Marco's probably still fighting King, so he should be around there somewhere. We also see Kid is still fighting Big Mom, and he reacts pretty funny. He's like, because Big Mom tries to taunt him with the news of Straw Hat's defeat. Like, oh, did you hear that, mama? And Kid's like, I don't give a shit about that idiot. We know he does, though. We know he does. It's just deep, way deep down. Way in the gold recess of his heart. We also see Law there. He doesn't say anything, but I'm assuming he's still on his way to the Big Mom and Kid fight, but he's looking up at, assumably, the Marys, all angry, like, oh god, this isn't doing well. Straw Hat, I was just there. I could have helped you, but you said you got it. Looks like you didn't get it. We also see Kaido in his dragon form, looking after Momo. I was kind of confused at first as to how Kaido got to Momo so quickly and seemingly out of nowhere, but, you know, in the beginning of the chapter, the Marys did let him know of Momo's location, so wasting no time, turns into dragon mode and fucking Kool-Aid Man's his way into Momo's little hiding spot, and we'll see how that turns out later, but we also see Hyogoro reacting to the fact that Kinemon has also failed. And then lastly, my personal favorite at the very end is Zoro and Sanji both denying any possibility of switching over sides or surrendering with a altogether now, screw that. Just as Kaido predicted, their faith in Luffy will not waver, and they know that somehow Luffy will prevail, and even if he doesn't, they are not gonna change sides. They're gonna fight to the end against anyone who stands in their way. And we get a little bit of a nervous and surprised reactions from a lot of the Straw Hats. Like, Frankie's like, wait, what? Jinbei's, you know, his quiet, stoic self, like, And then Robin's kind of got the sweat drop, but, and you know, their faith in Luffy is unwavering, but they still took the news a little bit like, oh, wait, what? But Zoro and Sanji are both like, Luffy was defeated? Screw that. Surrender and join Kaido? Screw that. Give up their faith in their captain? Screw that. They're pumping up and ready to fight, and it is great. It's a great little punctuation mark to this whole spread of, again, the Straw Hats and allies reacting to the news negatively, of course, and then Zoro and Sanji are just like, nah, we're fine. Screw that. I loved it. Can you believe we're only halfway through this fucking chapter? God, it was good. We now see Kanjuro snooping his way up into the attic. Momo is reunited with Kinemon and Kiku, so I'll just say that it's a very good thing that Kinemon and Kiku were able to get to them, because not soon after Momo is shouting out to Kinemon, trying to get the news across of whoever's in his head, whatever it is, we see Kanjuro. I don't even have words to describe Kanjuro. It's fucked up is what it is. So Kanjuro, once again, pretends to be Odin in front of Shinobu and Momo. His own child, Odin's child. He pretends to be Momo's father, who's dead. You know how screwed up that is? God. All I'm saying is thank Inaru, Kinemon, and Kiku got to them first, because if Odin had just appeared in the attic with Shinobu and Momo, I don't even want to go down the path of what could have happened. Momo would have been dead. Shinobu would have been caught off guard. She would have been dead, and then Momo would have been... Oh my god. Anyway, that didn't happen, thank god. And Kiku, the rage emanating off Kiku is palpable as she's like, not again, you sack of fuck. And she dashes at him, but the ham actor, roll credits, that Kanjuro is, uses her weaknesses against her. Kinemon luckily had the right idea to cover Momo's eyes as this encounter occurs, because Jesus. But as Kiku charges Kanjuro, he points at her weak points of bringing up her childhood with Izo and how Odin saved them and took them in. And... you know, she had some issues before trying to cut down Kanjuro, and even though there's plenty of reasons why she should be angry enough to slice him, because, God, I want him dead, it wasn't enough, and in the moment she hesitated for even a split second, and you hesitate, you fail. And she failed. Kanjuro took advantage of her hesitation and stabbed her right through the chest. I hate him, but I also hate Kiku for letting him get to her. She's so racked with guilt at not being able to finish the job once more as she lays dying in Kinemon's arms. It's very poetic, talking about the snow melting into the dawn, and she seemingly dies in Kinemon's hands as Kanjuro again goes for another hit at, I assume, Kinemon, but Kinemon has certainly had enough and slices Kanjuro down. Even though Kiku failed twice, and, you know, you can blame her for not having the determination of killing a friend, but at the end of the day, she was a really great character. She was brave and determined to help Odin's legacy live on through Momo and Wano and fulfill his dreams of opening the country and all that. And she was just a really good character, and I really liked her. And I am not looking forward to Izo's reaction to this, because Izo joined the fight just for all this, to be reunited with her, and then... man. And I'm going to try to not be affected by all the lack of real deaths in One Piece lately. I mean, realistically, there have been deaths too, but, you know, especially with, particularly Kanjuro was thought to be dead, and he was still alive. Orochi was dead, but he kind of has a reason to still be alive. But it's just, you know, you get suspicious after a while of characters that keep coming back. But I'd rather fully enjoy, isn't the word, experience Kiku's death now and then find out later that, oh, she did survive, than pretend that she's not dead now and then find out later that she did die, and then you're like, oh, retrospectively like, oh, that sucks. Didn't believe it when I saw it. Now I'm just like, oh. So I'm just gonna go with Kiku and Kanjuro are dead at the end of these chapters. Kiku and Kanjuro's endings, as Kanjuro thinks back to him and Kinemon being the best of friends, even while he was an actor, he fully lived in the role. It really was a different side of Kanjuro who was making family and serving Odin, and his emotions were real. He was that good of an actor that he really did form ties, as he had mentioned before. But unfortunately, they weren't good enough, apparently, because he had the balls to deceive all of them. But regardless, Kinemon is just torn up, understandably, as Kanjuro cries that he was particularly his best friend throughout his show, and if anyone was fit to close the curtains on his act, it was Kinemon. Very sad. I hate Kanjuro, but very sad for Kinemon to see Kiku and now Kanjuro die in front of him. At least Kanjuro had the decency to cry as he died and thinks back to all the things he's done. Makes me not hate his character as much. No, I mean, it's like the least he could do. The least he could do is feel sorry for Kinemon. And he does. So that's the final closing on his act and life, along with Kiku. And that's why, you know, both of their deaths were played out well for their characters, I think. Whereas in a second after all of this happens and they're standing there in the aftermath of this, a giant explosion happens behind Kinemon. And wouldn't you know it, it's fucking Kaido. Kaido comes barreling through. Keen reacts quickly and tells Shinobu to take Momo and get away from here as he stands his ground against Kaido. Spoilers, he doesn't do too well. He knew, he fought against Kaido, he knew that he didn't stand a chance. He just thought if he could buy Momo and Shinobu another moment away from Kaido, then it was worth it. And I hope it is. We don't know what happens to Shinobu or if she's able to use her ninja jutsus to get away quickly. But we see Kaido slamming upon Kinemon with his big club covered in Conqueror's Haki, as both of Kinemon's swords are broken and it slams right into him, and it is brutal. And now, like I said, this is kind of counterintuitive, but I don't think Kinemon's dead. I feel like story-wise, he has a little bit more to add. I think maybe this might be a fatal blow, and he'll die soon after, but he needs a moment. I don't know, maybe we'll get that first thing next chapter of Kinemon's death scene and be like, oh, yep, that did work, because realistically, of the three who just possibly passed, it was Kinemon who took the worst blow to for sure end it. He took a straight-on kanabo laced with haki smack down to his head. If anyone's dead, it would be Kinemon. I'm just hoping that story-wise he still has a little bit left to give, because it was so abrupt, you know? It was kind of out of nowhere, and man, I just want Kinemon to be alive for even a moment longer. Maybe it's just hope that someone could help bring Momo into Wano as the new leader and raise him and be there for him, because God, Momo, and this little scene where he's looking over his shoulder and crying, God, the more I look at it, man, Momo's not gonna have anyone left. What is he gonna do? Who's gonna help him? I can't deal with it. But I did want to bring attention to something that someone had pointed out, is that there's a crack, seemingly, in Kaido's club, and you can kind of you see a glimmer of something when Kaido is presented, the second panel on the last page. You see a white line going up there, but I think that is just like the shine of the club, because someone was saying that was also a crack. But I think as he slams down on Kinemon, now don't ask me how, because it's coated in Conquerors and Armament Haki of Kaido, but it looks distinctly like a crack down there. Does that mean there's hope for Kinemon? But his swords broke, but did something happen? did Kaido's club take a lot of beatings from Luffy, similar to Don Krieg, where Luffy kept getting hit and hit and hit by the spear, but eventually it cracks? That would be a very neat parallel. Go check out my recent Baratier review of the anime versus the manga, which is why it's fresh in my head that this just happened with Don Krieg. So maybe the scene was cut right before Kaido's club is about to break apart, and it was enough to break Kinemon's swords and like deal maybe enough of a blow to knock him unconscious, but maybe his club gets destroyed because of his fight with Luffy? That would be kind of poetic if Luffy's taken up all those beatings and beatings all to just lead to saving Kinemon at the end because Kaido's club couldn't handle it. And it's just hard to believe that Kaido's club could be damaged at all, but I can't really deny the fact that there is a distinct white crack on that panel on his club. So maybe that is foreshadowing that Kinemon will be alive. Unfortunately, I do think that Kiku and Kanjuro are officially gone as the chapter comes to an end and we see Onigashima flying and reaching the mainland of Wano. And this never-ending chapter has now ended. No sign of Zunisha in the background, so I'll keep looking though. Also, this bodes well for Luffy because he fell into the water not too long ago, so if someone was to save him, it wouldn't be too far to get to Wano. We have a few options that I had forgotten to mention on my reaction, but we have Law's submarine, the Polar Tang. Could possibly have seen Onigashima fly away through the surface and have been kind of trailing it, so it would be directly under Onigashima as Luffy falls onto it, and maybe the Heart Pirates will save him. Or we have the instance of Chekhov's octopi, when we saw the octopus at the beginning of the Wano arc popping up on board of the ship and hanging out in the water near the waterfall. I know this isn't near the waterfall, but if you put an octopi in the water, you gotta have it save the protagonist later, that's all I'm saying. So there are some options for Luffy. I'm not too worried about him, and you know, it's Luffy, he's gonna be okay no matter what happens. It's just a matter of how it's gonna happen and how he's gonna get back to Onigashima, what's gonna happen with Kaido and Momo. Is Momo gonna be able to get away? Is Kinemon dead? Oh, there's a lot going on. And we have still the voice that Momo is hearing. There is a lot to think about, but luckily we won't have to think about it for long because there is not a break next week. Ultimately, crazy theories and predictions aside, we will just have to wait and see. That concludes my long-winded review of chapter 1014 of One Piece, The Ham. The ham has been cooked and is dead and is sliced. So even more reason that Kanjuro is probably dead because the title was named after him. That means he's dead. But if you enjoyed this chapter and want to talk about it more, feel free to comment down below your thoughts, your theories, what you think about Luffy having the presence. I know it's kind of crazy, but I just thought it would be cool, so I wanted to throw it out there. And like the video if you made it this far and you enjoyed my reaction. Subscribe for more videos. I'll be putting out a video on Wednesday and then my usually regularly scheduled video on Friday. And remember, I will be doing a Twitch live stream, my first live stream reaction on a chapter, and now I'm saying it in the video, so now you have to hold it against me, hold myself accountable to actually do it. I don't know what time. Like I said, I'll let you know more details as Friday draws nearer, but check me out on Twitch and follow me over there if you want to be part of that. It'll be fun. And finally, check me out on Twitter if you are interested in more One Piece gaming and anime content over there as well. But that wraps it all up. Chapter 1014 was amazing. We got so much information. I could keep talking about it, honestly, but we'll cut it right there. Have a great day, follow your dreams, and check me next time. Bye!